Thank you, Mr. Knopper. I will now call to order a public hearing of objections to bylaw 21-02, a bylaw to establish a planning advisory committee on Monday, March 22nd, 2021 at 6 p.m. Record of attendance, I note that all members of council are in attendance at this meeting. And in addition, we have Chris Spear, our Chief Administrative Officer and Treasurer, and Paul Knopper, our Clerk and Senior Administrator, in attendance. I will now look for a motion to approve the agenda as written. Thank you, Councillor Grew, and a seconder.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Councillor Bishop. All in favor of the agenda as written, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. We will move directly to the, first of all, we will look at self-disclosure of conflict of interest. Hearing none, we will move on to directly to the hearing of objections. This is PED 2110-22B, public hearing of objections to bylaw 20-02, being a bylaw to establish a planning advisory committee for the town of St. Andrews. The Council of the Town of St. Andrews is holding a public meeting to hear objections to the proposed bylaw 20-02, being a bylaw to establish a planning advisory committee for the town of St. Andrews in accordance with section 111 of the Community Planning Act. It's my understanding, Mr. Knopper, that we've received no previous correspondence in relation or objections in writing.
Through you, Your Worship, that's correct. The town has received no indications of writing either via email or dropped off or any phone calls of objection. So at this point in time, there's been nothing received.
I guess now we can turn to anyone who might be watching and may wish to contact you with any objection.
Your Worship, I'll just say this out to the public. If you do wish to make contact, for those that are watching via Facebook or participating, well, via Facebook, our system, you can email me at pknopper@townofstandrews.ca if you have any questions, comments, or public hearings of objection to a PAC bylaw. This is the form that we can use. If you wish to speak directly to council, you can do so as well. I need an email. Your Worship, I would suggest we leave this open for at least 5 minutes for anybody that give them time if they wish to email and come on or ask any questions if council is fine with that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Knopper. We will wait and see if anybody's watching and has a question or a comment.
For council's note, you do have 20 people viewing on via Facebook.
Your Worship, while you're waiting for this, I'm actually going to reboot my modem. So I'll be signing off for a couple of minutes because everyone's video is completely frozen for me.
Okay,
So
thank you,
I'll
Mr.
return
Spear.
shortly.
Maybe it was because we weren't moving.
Your Worship, I do have a question that has come in, if I can present it to you. It is from Joanne Carney. She's asking, can council explain the advantages and possible disadvantages of having our own PAC?
Good question. I think the main, I'll answer first, then I'll turn it over to council or to you or to Mr. Spear when he's back on, if you have anything to offer. I think the reason this came up was that for the past 2 years plus, we have been using the planning advisory committee process of the Southwest Regional Service Commission under an agreement that we have had with the commission as part of the acquisition of planning and building inspection services from the commission. It seems to me that the motive for this being brought forward again within council was to try to increase the number of local people who would have a direct input and a direct opportunity to rule on what are primarily variances that come before them, but in some cases are recommendations to policy and bylaws that are put forward. So that to me, that's my simple answer as to why this came forward. And certainly I'll open it up if anyone on council wishes to comment as well.
Yeah, your worship, I think you did a fairly good job explaining why. Obviously, when we have a regional PAC, a number of people that don't live in our community are making key decisions for our community. And I don't think that I should be making necessarily the decisions for St. Stephen or Lawrence Station. I think that having people that live in your community making key decisions for your community is a smart decision. I think that's why to date we haven't had any opposition to it. I guess the only disadvantage to it all is we do live in a small community. So when you have decisions to be made, if someone was outside of our community, there's a greater chance that they don't know the applicant. That's a little bit of an advantage. So they, it just doesn't make them feel like they're perhaps at a perceived conflict of interest. But I think that we haven't received any negative communication, because I think a lot of our community that have seen this actually supports it. All the feedback I've got is actually positive about this change, and hopefully that's why we haven't heard anything.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Anyone else wish to comment in relation to that question? Councillor Groom?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I think one of the other advantages of having a local PAC is that St. Andrews has its own particular bylaws and zoning bylaw in particular that local people understand far better than someone who's from outside of St. Andrews. So there would be a greater understanding I'm with PAC members of what the zoning bylaws are and how they apply, so that they can do that deep dive and make better decisions for St. Andrews. So I think it's a very positive thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone else? If not, I think that pretty much covers the waterfront in terms of that particular question. Mr. Knopper, is there anyone else?
Your Worship, I haven't received any further emails or comments thus far.
Okay. So if that's the case, we'll move on. I guess there is question period, but since that's the only, I think that's one and the same, I would assume at this point in time. So I will thank the members of the public that were watching in, and thank you for the thoughtful question, Ms. Carney. And I will look for a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Bishop, and a seconder.
I'll second it.
Great, thank you, Councillor Akaji. All in favor of
Councillor
adjournment,
Akaji.
please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Council, and we will adjourn and rearrange, and we will be back at it very shortly with the special meeting.